Welcome to Buzz About, discussions with skilled professionals about how they got there and why they do it. All recorded here at 15 North Studio in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Today we dive into the world of merchandise.
So welcome to Buzz About. I'm Megan.
I'm Bert.
And we're here with Matt today from Off Kilter, and we're going to talk about skateboarding and some merchandising and all the fun things that go along with that. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing well today. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm happy to yap about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah. Great. Now, my relationship with you evolves around my wife, Jill, who you met, who was a big fan of, going to concerts and, attending these things. And you were essentially working with and friends with members of the starting line. Like, how did that all come about, other than being childhood friends, of course? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was, right place, right time, a lot of the time, or right place, able to do stuff that no one else could do or wanted to do sometimes, but on the way back from when they toured me back from California, one of the guys that worked for them, his nickname was Wild Bill, right? So, and he had a lot of responsibilities, but you can understand if your name's Wild Bill, you're only going to do so much of your responsibilities, One of his responsibilities was to have a good time. So, and that was why his name was Wild Bill. Yeah. So, I got handed some things on the way back home that he didn't do on the way out to California, right? Tour started in Pennsylvania. They toured to California. Wild Bill's on tour. They pick up Matt in California. And on the way home, they're like, Matt, can you help do this? Can you help do this? So by the time we got back home, they were like, yo, we're doing this thing called Warped Tour this summer. Do you want to come tour with us?
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I know what Warped Tour is. Cool. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I know what Warped Tour is when you buy the ticket. That's a couple bucks. You bring your friends. You go. You see the show.
Yeah.
You get to watch all the stuff. Yeah. Warped Tour working it is a whole different beast. Ooh. And especially from merchandise angle, you have to get up real early. You got to strike your tent. And it's like Lord of the Flies, whoever's up first gets the best spot. Or if you're buddies with the older dudes on the tour that kind of set where the tents go, you get a better spot where the people walk by. And if you're new or young or fresh, they're like, okay, cool, yeah. See that spot all the way over there that you can't see? Yeah, go on the far side of that spot. Good luck selling t-shirts today. So you had to learn real fast how to be friends with people, but being up crazy early in the morning, working all day in the sun, talking to tons of different kids all day. That was how I cut my teeth in that part of merchandising. I went to art school. I put myself through school by working at Abercrombie and Fitch, straight, no tattoos.
I was gonna say, you look like an Abercrombie and Fitch guy.
Yeah.
When I worked there,
back in the day, Abercrombie and Fitch had a different.
I was a recruiter. I used to go to the colleges and sit on the hill and watch people walk by and be like, "You look like you should work at Abercrombie. Do you want a job?" Literally. That's,
wow.
Yeah.
I remember watching a whole documentary on Abercrombie.
It was crazy. I was on the store opening team. That part of merchandising and retail, I learned from the mall. I worked at the mall a bunch growing up, and Pacific Somewhere, after Abercrombie wouldn't have me anymore because I told them I wanted to get more tattoos and grow my hair.
Yeah, that's possible.
They told me I could only have one ring on each hand and one earring in each ear, and your hair couldn't go down past this length, and you have to stop getting tattoos that are below your sleeves.
Right.
And there was a whole book, a requirement book for...
They were strict. And I mean, I started working there when I was young and worked my way up in the company while I was going through college, before I quit college to move to California to work for the record label, which was my parents were, what are you leaving college? We did all this effort and you did all these things, and these kids are just in a band and it's never going to get you anywhere. It's just t-shirts,
Yeah. But Mom, I got to be a little less Abercrombie and Fitch and a little more Wild Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was jealous of Wild Bill. He got to do fun stuff, but I was balancing two worlds for sure at one point in time. And then that was when I threw caution to the wind and was in fact, I called Mike from the starting line, and I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. The mall's killing me. The grind's killing me. I'm putting myself through college and through working. I worked at Applebee's too at the same time.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. And he was like, dude, just go and put your keys on the counter and just leave. It's meet me at the house. I'll pick up a case of beer.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, get out of here. He's like, no, dog, seriously, I'm leaving work right now. I'm telling my boss, like, I'm not quitting. You are. Put your keys, go in, tell him thank you. And
Peace out.
he's like, we're playing this thing called Skate and Surf this weekend. I'm going to introduce you to the owners of the record label that we just got signed to. Like, they're going to love you. Like, who knows what's going to happen. It was like, seriously, caution, win. Like, let's see what happens. And I met them that weekend at Skate and Surf. It was one of the most wild weekends of my life. And I like helped sell t-shirts and do stuff like, the normal odds and ends things. And they invited me to California. And I went out to California and I hung out for maybe 2 weeks. I worked in the office at the record label. And at the end of the 2 weeks, they sat me down and they were like, okay, well, we want to give you a job. And I had never had like a real serious like full-time job or anything before. And I was like, okay, cool. Like when do I start? Like I get to go home and like finish my life. And they were like, no, you need to be back here in like 2 weeks. I was like, well, what? So I went home, said goodbye to everybody, packed up all my stuff and moved to California. And that was when I went out.
Sure.
Couldn't stay long because it was expensive, but
Yeah.
the band toured me back home. And I helped Wild Bill do his job.
Sure.
We started Warped Tour, and I toured for like over a decade after that. I brought some.
Oh my gosh.
I brought.
So you didn't work with just this. You don't work with just. So when you sign with this like record label as their merchandiser, you don't work with just one band. You work with everyone that they sign. You work on selling their product. You're not. Are you designing it as well? You studied an art degree. Like how?
I've like really never seriously used my art degree in music merchandising. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Funny face, like, okay, cool. That doesn't make any sense. But
Well, I'm not using my degree.
well, I will
I'm not
secretly
using
like
mine.
if we're making a product and the production company or whoever's making it is like it needs to be this file size, whatever, and like I'm having like time or crunch or connection, or sometimes I'll just do it myself because I know how to
Sure.
do it, and then I'm like, oh, cool, here it is. Sometimes I just don't tell people how files get fixed because sometimes I don't want people to know. I guess I'm
Yeah.
giving away my secret right now, but yeah,
Yeah.
every once in a while, Matt is the one that fixes things.
Too much, Matt. Too much.
But no, I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm not the one that does the art all the time. I'm the one that kind of like sees all the pieces and helps put it all together. When I worked in California at the record label, I was the Southern California regional rep. So I would drive to all the record stores, if people remember what those are, and I would just talk to them about the new stuff that was coming out. So yeah, I worked on like all the bands that were on the label. So not just the band that I was friends with, but like, Newfound Glory and Finch and Alistair and Benjamins and Steel Train and like, anytime they had a new record, I would go and make sure that they had like the stickers and the poster and the promo and, hey, there's a show at Chain Reaction, like you guys should come, I'll put you on the list. So like we would pull the shop owners in and show them a good time. We'd, go to IHOP next door to Chain Reaction and like chill out and have fun and, do all schmoozy type stuff and make sure they knew like, these were the records that were coming out. So that was where I learned a little bit about the label end of the business there, but the merchandising aspect, again, still like I was touching all the product. I was literally packing orders in the mailroom and like shipping stuff out. Like you had to write a check and fill out stuff and send it in. And if it wasn't the right size, I had to like send you a message back that said, this isn't the right size. We only have small and extra large. Do you want one of those? And then like, wait for you to email me back again.
So with regards to all that, you had essentially an office job now. Like, how do you get out of that office seat and then go on all these tours and everything like that? Like, hold that up again.
Yeah,
like this
I'm super intrigued by this.
So
this
tell
is-
us what all these are. What are those?
Again, by accident, blowing caution to the wind. Like I couldn't afford to live in California anymore, so I started going on tour totally by accident. Came back from California, went on Warped Tour, did like whichever Warped Tour I'm not sure which one it is. One of these ones.
How many are there?
Oh goodness gracious! I couldn't even tell you. It's over the span of a decade plus. Oh look here, this is when I worked at Pacific Summer. That was before
Wow, you still have that.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah. Vans Warped Tour 2003, VIP from the Yahoo Quest launch series. Oh I have one from Band in the Bubble when Cartel and was on MTV and they were in the bubble. This one is from when I worked for Britney Spears.
Hey, shout out Brittany.
Skrillex and Diplo.
What's favorite one? What is it? Favorite? Maybe not necessarily a concert, but like an event.
Okay,
What's that one?
This was the Full Flex Express.
Sure.
It was Skrillex, Diplo,
Whoa.
ASAP Ferg, and we took a train through Canada on the track that I think it was the Grateful Dead or one of those bands did like a Canadian tour where they did stops on a train. So they mimicked it. And we literally lived on a train, and every stop, like got off, did a show, got back on the train. Weird cities that like you wouldn't necessarily hit on a normal tour, but and they get the pass.
And when was that? How long ago was that?
Oh man, what? 2015.
Okay, so and then with regards to in those years that you're going on all these tours, are you still retaining this office job in the meantime, in between, or is this just you're touring all the time where you don't have time for that?
So at one point in time, I was working for Red Light Management, and they were a company based out of New York, 44 Wall Street. Actually worked on Wall Street, which is bonkers. I would get off the train with like all these like suit and business guys, and they would be like, you're not getting off at the right stop, right?
This is an Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. But
Little did they know.
yeah, it was like ATO Records was there, which was Dave Matthews and like I think like Modest Mouse, and there was like a jam band management and like marketing top 2 floors of this building on Wall Street. And I worked there and retained my desk job, but they would send me out on the tours. So I was constantly like, anytime one of our bands started a tour, I would like fly out to the beginning of the tour and like make sure all the merch got there, check in with whoever was the road rep, go on the tour for a couple days. And eventually, as my wife and I, had kids, we lived in Brooklyn at one point in time. We were like, oh, we can't live here forever and have like a place. So we moved back to this general vicinity, and I would, I had a desk job, and I would still be like flying out to these tours and like going in these places, and I'd be gone for, a week or so at a time. And that ended up being like super duper crazy over an extended period of time. Like you can only be away from your family for so much. So trying to position myself in the industry and like not be touring all the time and like find a desk job where you're not touring. That kind of like led me down this path of working for larger merchandise companies where I'm managing the people that are going out and doing that.
That was my next question. Like, where is your life right now? Like, you're out, you have a wife, you have children, like you have a shop. Like, how is your life allowing for all of that earlier life chaos?
It goes through chaos, and like you pick off the parts that are too chaotic, and you retain the things that like feed you and feed your heart and your soul and your family. And I've been very, very lucky to have worked with enough people in the industry that when I was available, I've found myself able to find a job that gave me both the ability to fill myself personally and fill my bank account so that I can pay my bills and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Important.
And it's tough. It's very, very difficult, but and it takes a lot of sacrifices. God bless, my wife and my kids. But, I'm at the place now where like the shop functions in a way that I have people that I trust to work there when I need them to. I do what it needs to do to make that happen. And the shop fills me personally. I get to skate. I get to hang out with my friends. I get to be creative. I get to work with brands and stuff that I like, that I get to choose. And then my desk job, I currently work for a company called Merch Direct. We work with a larger company also called MV Sport and The Game. They do a lot of retail and sport merchandising. So like, in fact, here I have
More stuff.
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, when I show you the hat, you'll recognize it immediately. It's like
Sure. Oh wow. Yeah.
yeah. So like,
Right.
and this like the G, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I know
it's
that.
like-
Yeah. Sure. That's great.
Yeah, and then they have like the bars.
Oh yeah. Those are cool. Yeah.
And like you've seen people copy that
Totally.
sound. It's like they've been making them for, I mean, probably like 30 some years. They make amazing headwear.
Right on.
So the company that we work with works with The Game as well. We're one big company. So if one of my my shop and my skate stuff all lives here, my desk job all lives over here, and I work with like Cheech and Chong. Like we just launched, they just did their last movie, just came out.
Yeah.
So we do their web store. We work with Hank Azaria.
yeah.
He has a Bruce Springsteen tribute band where he,
Really?
oh dude,
The guy who does a poo
he does.
from The Simpsons.
Yo, listen.
Oh my God.
That's Hank Azaria, right?
Oh yeah, I'm on a meeting with him once a week for an hour with him and his team, and it's so much fun. But he had a birthday party and he did a Bruce cover songs, and it was so, like he like learned Bruce's inflections and his movements and his
Oh, he's
look.
singing and performing.
Dude, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, I got to see this.
If you want to go, there's a show coming up in AC. If you guys want to go, let me know. I'll
Totally.
put you on the list.
We'll have
But
to get
Yeah.
a free T-shirt too.
Done.
That's the deal.
we also work with Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah.
Cool.
He has a hat brand called Hubcaps.
Oh, more stuff. I hope he forgets all this stuff and leaves it here.
I want to know every single story of those badges.
Oh, those are cool.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like those.
So like
Let me
they
see one of those.
Yeah, here, take a look.
Cool.
So like
looks
they came up with all the colors,
Mostly I
all the
love the color
branding,
scheme.
yeah.
you know, like where
like my
the
jam,
stuff
that
goes,
color.
like,
But no.
and they just send us these like random mock-ups. Dude, they fit like yeah.
How's that?
They're nice.
You want to put one on?
Yeah, but
Your hair
go
looks too
for it.
good.
I
Your hair
was
looks too
going to
good.
say my hair is going to get flattened by it.
So like, you know,
I would wear that,
So how
though.
do you? I mean, like, is the company you're working for just like reaching out to these people to do this? I mean, are they calling you? Like, where's all this coming from?
It's a little bit of both, right? Like, so the company Merch Direct has been around since 1993. So, and they've worked with larger companies, smaller companies. It used to be small touring bands. You know, they're from Long Island, so it was like the Long Island music scene. Some of those bands got giant, and they grew with that. You know, those bands play festivals. Those bands, you know, go overseas and tour with other bands, and a lot. It's just connections. I have people that'll call me from like 5 years ago, and they're like, "Are you still making T-shirts?" Like, dog, I've never stopped making T-shirts. What do
Yeah.
you need? You
Yeah,
know? I had a person call me the other day and was like, we had a band that sold out of their best shirt. Can you make us 500 shirts by tomorrow? You know, like they're going to be here. I get those. We work with Joey from New Kids on the Block, right? Like he just went out on a solo tour.
Stuff.
And they're crushing.
Baby.
He sold so many shirts. He called me. He's like, can you make me more shirts and get them to Gainesville by like Friday? Like,
Wow.
like,
You're the guy, huh?
So is it a
Go ahead.
specific like manufacturer you work with? Like what is so obviously I like love merch. I love like supporting the like artists that we love. Like, do you have connections with like the manufacturer? Like how do you know where to get certain bands, like certain brands? Like what's going on here?
Yeah, you got to learn about what your client wants, what their end goal is, right?
Yeah.
So there's like, okay, there's the holy merch trinity, right? It's quality, speed, and cost.
Yeah.
You can only pick two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quality, speed, gonna cost a bunch.
Yeah.
Quality, cost, gonna be slow. So you have to learn what's the most important to your client and then give them those things, help them find a way to get those things.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's like, you know, we don't necessarily care about the feel of the product, but it's got to like look cool, but we need it by this date. Okay, cool. So if you need it by this date, you can only use X process, Y process, Z process. It goes on these things because we can get them in time. Or like our goal is way over here and we want to, the cost doesn't really matter and we want to make it be the best it can be. So you start rolling out like all these crazy processes that you can do. And over time, I've made connections with the people that, manufacture blank goods, can make the decorations that go on the hats, I'm super friends with the people that make all the little champion C's, right?
Super friends.
Super friends. Like he's my homie, Steve. I'll text him. He's like, when he comes in town, he takes me to for steak. Like, he's the homie. I worked for Dude Perfect for a little while. And
cool
again,
guys.
like the client dictates what you have to do and who right? And at one point they were like, we only want to decorate on our garments that we make ourselves. We don't want to use, Fruit of the Loom or Next Level or, a t-shirt that says a brand. I want to pick the size of it. I want to pick the material. I want to pick the wove, how big, how thick this is, how many stitches or literally granular. And we would build a piece of paper that said all these different things. You send them off to a manufacturer and send you back a sample, and then you take it to a meeting and they look at it and they tear it apart and you fix this longer, shorter, and over time you meet the people that make the shirts or make the material and eventually you get, Joey from New Kids on the Block's like, dog, I need shirts in Gainesville by Friday. And you're like, I got you.
Yeah, right.
Done.
I just need some front row seats, bro. Wait a second. So, people who are getting into this, people who maybe make t-shirts on their own, kids, teenagers going to school for it, art stuff. How do people get to being successful at what you're doing? Like, what advice would you have for somebody who is like, I love bands and I love merch and I want to make my own merch? Where do they go? What's like a first couple steps for them to figure out? Just
be around the things you like and spend honest time there. Learn about those things. If it's keyboards, like go to a keyboard shop, talk to some old head that knows everything about a keyboard, go to any show that has a really good keyboard player, try to message him on Instagram and be like, can I meet you afterwards?
Sure.
Be bold, make those connections.
Yeah, it really is. It's connections. Spend time doing the things that you like, and you'll find people that also like to do those things. And if you make a genuine, honest connection with them, you'll find that at some point in time, that connection becomes fruitful,
That's pretty rad. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Great advice.
We've been talking for a little while about trying to do something like this, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Go back and forth, try to find a time that works, and eventually, it becomes fruitful. And we have a really good conversation.
Sure. So, on the topic of you having your own store now, Off Kilter skateboard shop, right? How did that come about? And why? Why a skateboard shop, and why, I guess a merch shop in general, realistically?
It had always been a dream of mine to have a place where I could decide what was there, right? I had always spent my world over here where people were telling me, this is the hat I want, this is the shirt I want, it goes on this, I need it by this time, it has to be this color, I need this many of them, rules. And a lot of times you're the person behind it that makes all the things, and you don't get to decide some of the aspects of it, or get the shine or the credit or the, so
Sure.
When the time came when I found myself with a great opportunity and the ability to spend time around the pandemic to dive into, actually, I guess that was where I used my art degree, right? I used my love of color and painting and everything I learned there and applied it to textiles, right? So everything I learned about garments and t-shirts and sweatshirts and style, and I put those things together with dyeing and tie-dye techniques and things like that. And that was really the beginning of Off Kilter, of the shop.
Sure.
There was no shop because no one was doing anything physical at that point in time. And I actually was doing parties in the neighborhood for birthdays and stuff like that. All the moms that I'm super tight with were like, yo, can you bring your tent and tables and like do tie-dye outside for my daughter's birthday party? And I was like, you know what? I have a couple tents, I have a bunch of tables, you know, like I could figure out a way to do this for like 12 kids at once, which was very daunting in the beginning because I did it by myself, which was bonkers.
Yeah. 12 kids, tie-dye.
But I eventually like
Sounds insane.
Messy.
Yeah, it's me.
yeah, I mean, but I found, you know, a good team of, you know, people that worked with me. They're a little bit younger that actually worked, were my employees at the other company that I was working for, which was cool. I was like, yo, I'm doing this tie-dye party thing. Like, do you guys want to like help me tie-dye? And they were like, oh my God, yes. Like we would love to help you do tie-dye.
Who doesn't love tie-dye?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, I started doing that around then. And once, you know, the world started opening up more, I leaned into having a physical space. I opened a spot. I invited, you know, a few other different artists or like artisans, creative type people to have their product in the shop as well. Local screen printers, this guy named Pink Bike Ralph, who's super awesome, prints in his basement, makes dope koozies and screen print posters and t-shirts and stuff. These two sisters that actually upcycle beer cans into candles. You know, a local artist from our area that was just like kind of painting on the side. And I was like, I want to bring your stuff into my shop. Like, I want to show people your stuff.
Yeah.
Now she like has an online store and like shows in like other stores too. And like has like this like robust online business. So it was a place for like everyone to do things. And then I threw a mini ramp in the basement.
Done.
So then like it was like, okay, cool. Like people were hanging out all the time.
Yeah, so you're getting attention from the people you want attention from, and you know, you're branching out and supporting them as well by having their stuff in the store.
Yeah, the community is the interaction with the people in the community is extremely important to me, and you know, I think the reason that I was able to do the things did growing up was because of the community I was in, like sports. You know, my parents played softball, and you know, I remember rolling around in the dirt with like a bunch of kids who like I literally still know that own businesses in this area. Like, you know, like that the community aspect is important to me. You know, I was on the PTO. I'm a sponsor for the Upper Dublin Youth Football, Upper Dublin Youth Wrestling. I try to give back as much as I can where I can. You know, it's really, really important to me. So that part is the shop and the dye, and I get to pick like what skateboard companies we carry and like, you know, all the stuff that's in there. And then, you know, the people that work and support there, it's super duper duper fulfilling. And you know, the other aspect of it is fulfilling as well. I love making merchandise. Do not get me wrong. That part fills me up big time.
Yeah.
But that part that fills me up is what gives me the ability to do these other things where I can give back to things, right? Like I take fill up and then I give back fill up.
Yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. Are you still like super into going to concerts? Like you have all these tags every year. I'm like, I'm going to keep coming back to them.
That's a really good
enthralled in
question.
them.
And I'm really glad that you asked. And it's something that I've been thinking about and that I do want to focus on. I can't go to shows as much anymore because I didn't wear ear protection while I was doing all these shows. I have a very serious case of tinnitus. My ears ring constantly. Like right now, like I hear ringing, like it sounds like there's like lights like buzzing.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there's further advice for people.
All the time. Yeah. If any live show, any mowing the lawn, chainsaws, cars, like you can't get your hearing back. So I am very selective actually of what shows I go to.
Yeah.
I have to be really careful with like,
and where you're at within that crowd. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like, so even like at like my son wrestles, and I support the team, and I have to wear headphones in the gym during wrestling. And at one point in time this season, I had to like check myself because I was yelling so loud because I couldn't hear myself because I was wearing the ear things. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have to be very, very careful. And it's, you know, please do go support live music. That's how so many of these people's like make a living. Record sales aren't, the way these people make their money anymore. But if you do go to live music, please wear ear protection.
I'll spiral
easy.
off of that last comment, like record sales not being where they are. Is merchandising the way it was? Because I feel like there's a lot of change in our industry with how people purchase things. Are they purchasing directly from bands? Are they looking for outside sources? Like, how do you see that impacting?
That's an interesting question. There's more ways nowadays to support a band than there's ever been before. And that's because like a good band will make sure that they merchandise themselves across several platforms, right? Whether that be vinyl, which is really popular these days.
Coming back, revitalization
Big time.
of that. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of people that purchase vinyl but don't have a record player is mind-bending. And, you can make vinyl in, like, think about, like, if you bought the same t-shirt with the same thing on the front, but the shirt was a different color every time, would you buy, like, 10 of the same shirt? Maybe not, but people are buying, like, 10 of the same vinyl, same music on it, don't sound any different, but the record is, like, a different color, or, like, the case is a different color.
Yeah.
Shelling out money. Like, diehard collector of every single color,
Yeah.
and that world merchandising is, if a band knows how to merchandise themselves in the right way, you can really you can cash in. Your music can be good, but your merchandise can be awesome. I mean, I'm shining a light on Kiss, they're still selling stuff like
Kiss Coffin. You can buy it.
AC/DC, Kiss, like Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, like stuff like that, like where you can walk into like a Walmart or something.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the company that MV Sport, we supply a lot of the big box. I'm on like the other side of it all now. I used to be where I was like, those guys shouldn't be carrying that merchandise. Like, who those kids don't know who those AC/DC is. Like, name me 2 Led Zeppelin songs, kid. Now I'm like, so the big box guys, they like to purchase in these very large numbers.
Yeah. It's a trend now.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the Nirvana shirt? Kohl's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Kohl's wants to buy Nirvana shirts,
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so in that case, what is like the future of merchandising? What can happen next? What can change, or what can stay the same?
Yeah, I mean, live merchandising is crushing. Like, the pandemic was crazy for online merchandising because you couldn't get anything anywhere. So like D2C, direct to consumer merchandising was bonkers for a couple of years because everyone was buying stuff online. And if you can be a brand that knows how to speak that online language, if you can play like the Instagram game and, run some ads and have a good
SEO,
put your stuff on some people and have some good TikToks, like you can sell some merchandise. But the bigger brands and bands and companies are doing it right when it comes to like live event or like crossover pop-up type stuff. Like that's where like the sauce is, I think, like right now. Like if you can do a cool event where there's limited merchandise that, it might be a slightly elevated production style. It's not just like a screen print on whatever, and there's an event that ties to it, like, whether it's a sporting or skating or music, those type of events, they really knock it out of the park. We're about to do the NCAA Baseball World Series in Omaha. And the game is a sponsor of the series. We're going to have a booth with like home and away for each of the teams that are in the World Series. So like we're right now in the process of like building out this booth, discussing with the people that run the grounds, like where do we ship things? How much can we ship in? When does it have to be there? And then we're working out logistics of like how many hats of each of the teams do we bring? Like how much overstock?
How do you even prepare for that kind of like
meetings
crowd?
and experience and conversations and just being like, having done it a bunch of times and failed failed so many times.
Yeah.
You get it wrong and then you get it right. And eventually, I've been doing it long enough, thankfully, that like I've done it wrong enough that I know what not to do. Honestly, again, when you ask like, what's the sauce? What do you say to somebody that wants to get into this? Or how do you learn just do it, fail, get it wrong, do it again, fail, get it wrong, take the part that's right, put it in your back pocket. And then when the time comes, you take that out and you go, oh, I did this before. It was horrible. We're doing it this way. And then the people are like, that's why we hired you. And then you can be like, look, I told you that's why you hired me.
Sure. And I think that's with everything. Like even taking video and photos and things like that. I remember the first episode, Megan was the guest.
Yeah.
And she talked about, like you did like aperture
You
priorities and
you
things
gotta
like that.
start out. You start out somewhere. You start out on auto, and then you figure your
You make the
camera
mistakes
out
and
And you're like,
figure out what works.
you do
what
one
doesn't.
all out of focus. And when it's done, you're like, that was so good. And you look at it, you're like, it's all out of focus. You're like, hey, can you come back and do it? And then the second time you do it, it's all in focus, but, and you're like, okay, cool. So now we figured that out. Same thing.
Well, quick story. So I used to film all these drift events. I used to follow the Southwest Drift around out of Las Vegas. And there was this big event and it was the championship and the guy who won had the champagne. So I took my camera and I put a trash bag around it and taped it all up and made sure it was all ready to go. And they were like, okay, cool. And he popped the champagne and he's spraying it. And I'm getting soaked and champagne everywhere all over the front of the lens. And I'm like, man, this is going to look awesome. And I look down, not recording.
Yep. Yeah. And you're like, okay, so now I'm going to make sure it's recording before these moments. And that's in the same thing. I went on Warped Tour. I kept all my numbers in a book.
The Rolodex cards where you carry them around.
There was no laptop with Excel.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's a program that like you punch all the numbers in, it does everything for you. But back then, we did everything. I literally had a ledger book.
Yeah.
And at the end of the tour, I lost the book. I had no right ever being hired again to do the job that I just did. I did a great job doing it, but I lost all the proof of like the numbers and all the stuff. And thankfully, the person that hired me gave me a chance to like continue to prove myself. Mm-hmm. I knew in the back of my head, like you're checking to make sure you're recording anytime there's a big moment. I never forgot that happened. And it crafted my dedication to like accuracy and timeliness and making sure that I had my data.
Yeah.
My nickname was Numbers because I literally was obsessed with numbers after that. I was at the end of the night, I would like run down all the numbers, tell everybody the percentages of sales and how much we made and blah, 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 and I was obsessed with it, and it was because I lost all my numbers after my first
for
tour.
a minute. And then you're like, well, I'm never going to make that mistake again.
Life lessons.
You fail and then you learn and then you go from there,
So you're into merchandising. Do you do like marketing for it? Are you a part of marketing for Instagram or like those social media platforms? Like, is that a completely different position? Because they do go hand in hand, like having a great product and marketing for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. When it comes to Off Kilter and the shop and my stuff, that's all me. I run the Instagram, I run all the marketing, I lay out the plan of when things are going to launch, and I make the ads in the background, secret sauce. So I do have a strong understanding of how those things work, and roll out. Go to market, the reason for things. And again, that's only because I've watched it happen so many times on the other end where I am not responsible for it. I didn't go to school for marketing. There's people that understand it a little bit better than me, probably a lot better. That's stupid, a lot better than me.
Yeah.
I'm good at it on, a base level and I know how to explain a product and especially because I'm the one that's making the product. Sometimes it's easier for me to explain like the cool parts of it. But it's only from watching it. On the other end of things, thankfully I get to hyper focus on making the product, making sure it gets to where it needs to be and those things. And then someone else gets to hyper focus on making it look super cool and doing cool photos of it and, rolling those things out.
So your product specifically with tie-dye, is that you're just selling it in your shop Or are you merchandise? Are you going everywhere now? Where are you at? Where's
So
your
again,
products
I
at?
guess like, you know, if we're gonna pull the sheet back a little bit, so I make everything for the shop myself. And I get to choose like what garments it goes on, what colors, all this stuff like that. But I'm lucky enough that I do have friends in the industry that have seen my stuff and want the stuff I make. So I've made bulk dye for bands and brands, both
sick.
that I can say and I can't say, where like they sell it to you and you think that it's like made who knows where, or they made it when really like I made it and I dyed it and I sent it to them and then they printed it and sold it as if it was theirs.
Oh, that's cool.
So you do your own dyes? Like, are you mixing your own dyes as well?
Colors I mix myself.
Okay.
The brand that I use and the company, it's an industry. You
don't have to disclose
Yeah,
that.
I mean
It's okay.
If you know about tie dye, like you
Yeah.
probably used it already and you know which one it is. It's a great dye. There's a couple suppliers that supply it and it's industry wide. It's really how you apply the dye and the techniques you use during the dye process that give you the different looks or, a signature, the process by which I apply the dye, and then how the way I prep the
post-processing.
garment beforehand also leans towards like making my stuff have like a certain style and a look to it.
Yeah, I've seen like videos of people wrapping it up specific ways to get circles and patterns and triangles and whatever. Like, is that another one of those trials and failure kind of thing? You figured it out?
1,000%. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like mess stuff up and like, cut it into pieces and use it to like tie things up, no one needs to see this ever again.
Yeah.
But then, you make something and you like post it online and people are like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then you just kind of like lean towards same thing, trial fail, people are like, I like this, but like lean towards that and make more of that stuff.
So you personally, professionally, you have a store, Off Kilter, where you can present anything you want in any way you want it to because it's yours. Is there any like goals along the way that you haven't hit? I mean, it sounds like touring around and making merch. It sounds like you're just living the dream, man.
I mean, yeah, so one of the goals was to like have shows at the shop, right? So I've invited bands to come play. That was like, check that off. I wanted to do a comedy show, which was awesome. I had
I want to do bands at your show. I need to come.
I mean, if you know
children
anyone,
are like super into concerts, and they keep asking like when our next concert is.
So yeah,
and we're at that age now. We like smaller venues.
Okay. Yeah, we have some like acoustic type stuff that's on the bill. I want to do an art show at the shop. That's like something that I want to do. Like again, like dream things up, and then that's the best part. Like I get to like come up with ideas. I want to have what I have been like tentatively calling like a deck exchange, where like people that collect a lot of times people collect skateboard decks and don't skate them, and then they like stack up in their closet and they're cool, but you might never skate it, or you like see something else. I want to do a deck exchange where collectors can bring their
I didn't even know that
stuff.
was a thing.
It isn't. It's like no one does it. I'm just in my head. I'm like,
if you do goalie sticks, I'll show up for that.
I'm stick exchange. Know, like I mean, my one homie is a real giant hockey fan. Like that's the thing. Like
just like bring people together who have a common interest.
Totally.
And you
Yeah,
can
that's
just
pretty
geek
rad.
out about whatever it is that you're into.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to be able to come up with something and then just be like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's try it. I mean, we did like
What do you think we're doing here?
Exactly.
exactly what
It's
we're doing here.
an experiment
Yes.
of trying fun. We did like a barbecue glizzy thing to open the shop and like literally put a tent outside in the snow and had a grill, and my buddy just like made chili and hot dogs, and anyone that came to the shop that day, we gave him a chili hot dog if he wanted one, like just because we wanted to. I don't know.
Yes to all of it.
Yeah, chili hot dogs, please.
I mean, that's the best part of life, though. Like, I don't know, you don't get where you are now by saying no to anything, like to everything. You say yes to a lot of things. You're like, let's see where this goes.
Throw the dart.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have found myself in crazy places around the world with crazy people doing crazy things. A lot of times, just from
One more shout out to Wild Bill. Yeah.
No, shut up.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I'm a big fan of just throwing darts, man. You can't hit a bullseye if you if it's still in your hand, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, you got to take the shot.
right,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
you got to take the shot.
Well, thanks, Matt, for coming from Off Kilter, and you could check him out on Instagram and things like that.
Yeah,
And
my Instagram is Get Off Kilter. Come by the shop. We're 22 North Main Street in Ambler. Entrance is on One Way Race Street. Please, check us out. Hit me in the DMs. Stop by, say hi. Like I said, third Friday every month. Come by Food Truck Fridays. Ambler
Definitely gonna
is
do
a
that.
great place to hang out. So come see us.
great. And wear ear protection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wear your ear protection when you go to live music.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thank you
today.
guys so much for
Thanks,
having
man.
me. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Please subscribe on all platforms for future episodes. If you'd like your podcast recorded or need a space for filming, please visit 15northvideo.com for more information.